All right, let's talk drive shafts for a second. I was able to use a front drive shaft from a WJ on the back of this Japanese car, this Isuzu Amigo from 1994. I was able to do that because the tail feather of this transmission is a 27 spline, which matches 231 transfer cases, I guess. Anyways, the Hack and Tap slip yoke eliminator from, Iron Rock Off-Road, that company, splines right onto the back of this thing. But since I couldn't drill out the hardened tail shaft for this transmission because it just ate through like 4 of my drill bits, so what I did was, fine, whatever. I welded a 3/8 nut to the tail shaft and then installed it that way. And that totally works, especially since now I don't have to trim down the slip yoke eliminator part that was sent to me because it wouldn't have slid all the way in anyways. So now that I have my rear drive shaft figured out on this thing, now it's time to figure out a front drive shaft. And for that, this drive shaft here is the only double carded one that we have. This is the drive shaft that Caleb pulled out of a container for free that was given to him by, I think, a local company, Summit Off-Road or something like that. And the pilot doesn't match. This drive shaft with a 2-inch female pilot on the end of its flange needs to fit on this yoke, which has a 2.5-inch female pilot. So we need to go for one. So that gives us 2 problems. 1 is a different size, and 2, it's female to female. I searched everywhere for this. This is a 26 spline yoke, but it's proprietary to Isuzu. It's a 26 spline, but it's way bigger than like the 26 splined pinions that you find in like Dana 44s and 10 bolts and stuff like that. So I couldn't find any yoke to replace this one. No matter how hard I looked, it's just a bigger shaft with the same spline count. So using the same yoke off the front of the transfer case, from this Isuzu Amigo, and this axle shaft seems like an impossibility, like you can't do it. And then I read online that, hey, just re-drill your flange yoke on the transfer case. And that's actually a good option. We could completely, and we probably will, just re-drill holes into this to match the hole pattern of this, because that's also different. But without a pilot, there's no way of knowing whether this is going to be centered with this, unless we find a way to make an adapter. So what I'm going to do is I have some 1/8 inch stock. I'm going to draw on it, and I'm going to find a way to make a perfect circle with a hole perfectly in the middle on 2 different pieces of this, one at 2 inches and one at 2.5 inches. Sandwich these together somehow, weld them up, and this is going to be like a piece to go in between the drive shaft and the drive flange. Wish me luck. I can use this mandrel, which is a 1/4 inch shank, which fits almost kind of perfectly in there. Chuck this up to a mandrel just like you would a cutting disc on a die grinder, and then use a drill to spin this, or actually chuck this into the drill press, and that's what I'm going to try first. Essentially, we have made a really durable saw blade, so you don't want to have like your fingers and stuff close to this edge because it already has sharp edges, and this is going to be spinning at around 700 RPMs for this. I might make it go a little bit faster, but we'll see how this works out. I'm going to start off slow and then we'll speed it up. So already I'm having a problem where it's not wanting to knock the edges down very good. I am taking material off. It's just kind of bouncing me around a bunch, and I guess I should have expected that. So now I'm going to do something that you shouldn't do at home, and I shouldn't be doing at home, and that is take my flap disc, kind of hold it here, and try to get this to be a little bit more round. Need my face mask. I'm not going to wear gloves around the drill press because that's a bad idea. If my glove got grabbed, it would pull my hand around and rip my whole arm off. That is getting to be really round of a shape there. I like that a lot. Okay, look at that. That is a nice slit fit. You don't get any movement out of the yoke, and that's just what I wanted. Assuming that's right in the middle. Now, unfortunately, I can't just, get this to go underneath, but I could tell that it's pretty close. That's pretty much going to be a press fit. I'm sure of it. In fact, if I tap it with a hammer a little bit, that'll go right in. So, now this is not precision. If I had a lathe, I could make it, 100% not perfect. This is really 100% not perfect right here. But basically, you got that piece, and you've got this piece, and all we've got to do is take these two and fix them together so that this will make this be an in-between part to fit all these pieces together. Obviously, you can see how it's not precision. If you look really close, a 1/4 inch drill and a 1/4 inch, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a slight movement, probably about 20 or 30 thousandths movement in the holes, the 1/4 inch holes that I drilled, and the 1/4 inch bolt, which makes me want to not use a bolt. It makes me want to line it up and weld it somehow. But for now, I think this is going to work. This only has to last for a month, by the way, and I doubt this car will ever go more than 30 or 40 miles an hour. There we go. These snap rings are pretty easy to take apart with just needle nose pliers. You don't need any special tools, snap ring pliers for that. With this type of joint here, you can't just take a socket and smack this one side of the other. You actually have to take the caps apart, but fortunately, when they made these double cardan style things, they didn't make these a press fit like a regular U-joint in a yoke. So all we should have to do is kind of coax these out a little bit, just like that. Oh, the seal came off a little bit, and they should fall right out. And I do want the seal out of there. Thank you very much. There's a little washer that goes on the inside of this cap. I'll make sure that I keep everything together, and then I'll re-grease these when I put them back. Okay, put that back on there. Put this, and I'll put this in like a little baggie or something so that it doesn't get dirt in it while we're working the rest of this thing. Now, this piece on the end is completely loose, but we can't remove it unless we take this U-joint completely out. So to do that, we'll just repeat this process. Now it's a great idea to replace all your U-joints, and I do have U-joints, but since this is a brand new axle that somebody just didn't want, I'm going to go ahead and reuse these. Now these seemed a little bit more seized in there, and I may have to tap this one out, but the good news is I can do that because this part is loose. And the final cap is out without damaging the U-joint, and I have this piece out, which is what I needed. There is a seal that goes on the end of that piece, just like that. We'll make sure that is all good. And then this just gets a bunch of grease. There is a spring, and there might be a spacer. Can't remember, but there is a spring that holds those two apart. We'll get it all greased up and we'll go from there. This is a 1310 U-joint that we will either put back in this or bag this up and use it as a spare instead. And then we'll put this in that hole, and then this on top of that. Then we can spin this around until we find a great place to drill some holes. Now it just comes out the other side. Okay. Here's the original drive shaft that goes on there. I've essentially made the same pilot on this one. And so I know this is going to fit on that yoke. Just need to make different the holes in different locations because they're a little bit wider than this one. This isn't the yoke that I'll be using, but since I got both yokes out of two different troopers, this is the exact same yoke. So my plan is to drill this right here where I can do it precisely, and then mount this one face to face on the truck itself and drill it on there. That way I don't have to take the yoke out of it. I basically used that to find where these holes are. So I ran into a couple of problems just now. For one, I didn't have the camera rolling, and so everything that I just did right now, you missed. But the problem is that this yoke here, I miscalculated that the shaft actually goes through this a lot more than I thought, and so that's why there's a recess in the end of this drive shaft, the stock one that went on there. And so what I did was drilled a couple of holes in this plate from the other side, and then welded this plate to this flange. That does a couple of things for me. For one, now this thing is permanent. Now this fits on that yoke permanently, no problem. But we've got to get rid of the middle of this flange. Now we don't need that 2-inch piece we made anymore. But unfortunately, by welding this all together, I welded that to here. Anyways, we need to cut a hole in this. So honestly, I could have taken the front drive shaft from one of the troopers and extended the length on that and hooked everything back up. But those are, I believe, 1210 series U-joints, and they're good for nothing if you're having like a tire that's like 31 inches or bigger. Especially if you're going to be doing some like off-road rock crawling and all the mudding we're going to do, all the mischief we're going to get into. Honestly, this thing is going to walk all over the place and make a bigger hole than 1 3/8 anyway.
But I did finish that drive shaft, and I've been searching and searching for the last piece of the puzzle, which is these U-joint straps, which are actually harder to find than you would think. I went to 2 different part stores in town, which my in town is kind of like really small, so I had to actually have my work friend go and get these from another part store. You can't just go and hand U-bolt strap to a parts store guy, first of all, not everyone, and this probably isn't you, but if you hand them this part, they might not know exactly what it is. And I ended up ordering 3 different ones. Anyways, I'm gonna get these put on. So these drive shafts will be finished. That front drive shaft with the pilot that I built worked out amazingly. Although I haven't spun it, we'll really know how good I did once we drive it at a certain speed. But I'll get this put together, and then I'll just kind of show you front and rear drive shaft because they turned out great. Front axle is in, and I will tell you, it looks pretty decent. This double cardon, I was able to make this flange work. We got our homemade pilot, centered everything, and that actually works perfect. Clearance with the transmission. This may actually be the first Isuzu MUA5 transmission with a cardon on it. I'm not sure how Dave's has his set up. Pinion angle is great. Caster on these are about 5 or 7 degrees. You may notice on the rear axle, or you might not, maybe it's too dark, that the drive shaft and the pinion are not at the same exact angle. And the reason that is because we're running leaf springs. The torque of the tires and the axle relationship will cause, on leaf springs, your axle to spin backwards. And so you want, in like racing, maybe all leaf spring vehicles, but you want your drive shaft to be at an angle kind of like this, so that when you're mashing on your gauge pedal and the axle twists, it actually straightens out that drive shaft with the pinion on your axle. So but anyways, that's in. Double cardon things going on back here, double cardon things going on up here. A geared transfer case. Things are going swimmingly. Now, that narrows my to-do list down to this. Now, I did decide to go with an electric fan, so right now I'm building the coolant system with the new shroud and new fan for a very good reason, but you'll have to wait until the next video to find out why.